So this video links in with what we have just learnt about steady state and VO2. So it's about oxygen consumption and different stages of exercise. So I'm going to draw a graph that shows us our oxygen consumption, so VO2, as we go through a session of exercise. Okay, so at the beginning of exercise, before we are doing anything, our oxygen consumption is obviously relatively steady and quite low compared to if we were exercising. So we would start at our resting oxygen consumption. Okay, as soon as we start exercising, we know that our heart rate goes up and also our volume of oxygen consumption also increases. That increases quite sharp depending on how the intensity of the exercise, obviously, but it does go up quite rapidly until hopefully we reach what is remembered to be called a steady state. Because we're exercising at a consistent intensity. So this might be we're going for a run. All right. It may not be steady. It may be up and down if it is a sport with varying intensities. And then at the end of our exercise, then our heart rate and our VO2 both go back down and get back down to the resting levels. Okay. So this is our volume of oxygen consumption as we go through a period of exercise. So here we are resting, here we are exercising, and post-exercise is recovery. Not resting anymore, we are recovering from the exercise. Now there are a few key sections to this graph. We already know about steady state. So that has occurred because our heart rate and our volume of oxygen consumption, our VO2, have become steady, have leveled out because the oxygen that we are getting in is meeting the demands of the intensity of the activity. Now, the important parts that we're going to be looking at, there are two main parts that are new to us, is this section here, which is called oxygen deficit. Now, if you are deficit in something, it means that you don't have enough. And we know that the requirement is up here because that's where our steady state happens. So if we were getting enough oxygen, our line would be up there. However, when we begin exercise, we are in oxygen deficit because we are not getting enough oxygen into our body that our muscles need to make ATP in an aerobic energy system. So oxygen deficit, don't have enough oxygen, our body is desperately trying to catch up. That's why you also notice your breathing rate increase rapidly when you begin exercise. The other part, and this links closely to one of the questions in your assignment on recovery, is the end here. Okay, this section of blue at the end. Now this section here is called EPOC. Now that is an acronym, it stands for something. It stands for excess, post-exercise, oxygen consumption. Right, so excess means we've got more than what we need, so extra. Post-exercise, after exercise, and it is about oxygen consumption. So what this says to us is that when we stop exercising, which we know is here, the end of our exercise, we don't need as much oxygen in our body anymore to fuel our working muscles because our muscles have stopped working. But our oxygen consumption still stays quite high until we get down to fully resting levels again. Now that is a good thing, that is EPOC, that is recovery, and that is a good thing because that oxygen is used in our body to help us recover. It's good for recovery, all right? We use that oxygen to clear lactic acid from our muscles, remembering that lactic acid is what has built up if we have been using the anaerobic energy systems, so the ATP-CP system or the lactic acid system. If we've been using them as the dominant systems, we may have got lactic acid buildup. Sorry, I've made an error there. The ATP-CP system doesn't have lactic acid buildup, obviously, just the lactic acid system. So we use that oxygen that is coming in extra on top of what we need to help clear the lactic acid, to help us recover, but also to help start replenishing ATP stores in our muscles, so that the next time we need to do some exercise, we have energy ready to go in our muscles. So key terms there, we already knew steady state. The new ones to add to your glossary are oxygen deficit and, of course, EPOC.